Step into the arena where legends come alive. With Ryan and Sactown, it's the place to thrive. Nate's Rhino and Jerry, the trio's got the crown. When the Kings hit the court, watch the magic go down. In the Kings court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the Kings shining star. Expect the unexpected, this is where it's at. From NBA insights to the latest chit-chat. Grab your popcorn, sit tight, we're ready to roll. In the heart of Sactown, we're feeding your soul. In the King's Court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the King's shining star. With the NFL, Adams in the ring. Rhino's got the wisdom, hear the praises we sing. Court in session, it's a royal affair. With the fans all around, feel the passion in the air. In the King's Court, the vibe's electric. If you don't like that, we're here to correct it. With the best in the game, we're raising the bar. From the hardwood to the airways, we're the King's shining star.
You made it! It's Friday! What's going on? King's Court, Royal Rumble. A lot of optimism. At least a little, you know what? I'm not going to call it a boost of adrenaline. Instead, I'm going to say an IV. You got some hydration into the fan base over the last 48 hours, and I'm here for it. I'm happy. The fan base. Happy with the draft, predominantly. If you're not happy with the draft, I want to hear from you. By the way, court is in
order in the court
session. How's everybody doing today? I'm kind of wondering, I'm looking at some of these names, they're changing. Our system must have updated the way that I thought we had a bot. Because look, I'm going to put a random thing up right here. Look at Dennis's name. It's Dennis Youngblood K36. Okay, so our streaming software has updated at some point. All good. So the draft in the books. Now we turn our attention to a forthcoming press conference, filling out the Summer League roster, which is already going on across the NBA, started as soon as the draft ended last night. We'll talk about some of the winners, the losers in the draft. I think you got to look at Phoenix. I did not think Phoenix could kind of bring together something that could work that quick. I argue that Phoenix is probably better today than they were the day before they traded Kevin Durant. So we'll look at some of those different situations. We'll also take a look at the guys that the Kings got. Sorry for everybody that tuned in last night. I mean, thank you for tuning in last night. Towards the end of the show, I was saying Crawford instead of Clifford. I was overstimulated. I was wired up on Mountain Dew, coming after people like spider monkeys. But you can understand, it's a busy time. So please omit my air from the record.
Order in the court.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Let's get right into it. A lot of you very happy with this pick last night. At 42, the Kings take a center, really a stretch center. We'll see what his game does, what his body does. But, Scott Perry stuck to some of his principles with this one. Maxime Reynaud. Go check out his game tape. We're going to listen to his combine interview here in a little bit. But seems like if you read his player profiles, some of the draft profiles, that are out there, it talks about, certain NBA schemes might be better for him than others. And I think exactly what that's being written at is a scheme kind of like the Kings run, where you've got this undersized center that likes to pass the ball, can kind of stretch the floor, but then makes you a little bit thin on defense. So again, let's set expectations. This is a second round draft pick. So yes, he'll probably because of the financial situation, he'll be fighting for a full-time roster spot. He'll definitely be fighting for a full-time roster spot because you're carrying two centers right off the bat, and you got IJ. So that's going to be the mix right there. But Summer League is really what we're all going to be looking at. That kicks off July 10th. The Kings Summer League schedule came out. I'm not going to hammer you over the head with going over their schedule. Oh, man, they've got the Jazz on this day. When I can only tell you there's like 4 players signed to the Jazz. And yeah, Ace Bailey, we're going to get back to you as well. But this was the moment last night when the Kings made their second pick in the draft, the 42nd pick.
With the 42nd pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Sacramento Kings select Maxime Reynaud from.
And as soon as that came in, because I was pushing for a very similar guy from Michigan, like Maxime. And I actually, now that I've really done more homework on him, I like him better. So we'll get to Scott Perry as well. I've not done a 180 on Scott Perry, but I can tell you I am way more open to seeing more of what Scott Perry is envisioning. I give the Kings draft an A+. They didn't have a first round pick, and we'll get into this. He sneaks back in to the first round using that 2027 first round pick from San Antonio, but it's top 16 protected, and all signs point towards San Antonio probably being pretty good by 2027, meaning it would convey to 2 second-round picks that year. So Scott Perry turns that into a first-rounder in a year where you need guys. You do, straight up, and a position of need. I know you have 2 centers, but one center is much different than what Maxime possibly could develop into in terms of being that floor spacer for Domantas Sabonis. Local in terms of Stanford for college, only has been playing basketball. His first year of basketball was his senior year of high school, very close with Victor Wembanyama. I don't think that can hurt the kid. I think that can only help him, especially when it comes to playing against the Spurs, as assuming Maxime's career and development continues. He's going to know him better than a lot of guys. He trains with him, plays chess with him, etc. So we'll talk more about him. And obviously the other pick, Nick Crawford, out of, you know what it was? I think I now know why I was saying Crawford, because Anita was watching and I had her comment up about the Maxime pick. And I'm looking at Crawford on the screen. I'm not going to make excuses. Rhino?
You just made the list!
100% made the list. So we'll look at Neek as well. We'll look at his pre-draft combine interview, all that as the show goes along. By the way, if you want to get in on the show, get in. It's that day. It's Royal Rumble Friday. So if you want to take the show a completely different direction, so long as it is appropriate, take it that way. All you got to do is hit the link. You can scan the QR code. It's on the screen. We'll get to your comments here in a few minutes as well. But what I was saying about Scott Perry, he looked like a different person, a different aura about him. You know, like the Chappelle skit, and they're talking about Rick James walking into the club, and there's an aura. Charlie Murphy's talking about that. There was a bad aura, at least to my taste, when I saw Scott for his introductory press conference in introducing Doug Christie. Now, it's a small sample size. It's 2 times. The first time you should have had an owner introducing you. You didn't. So I get it. I'm kind of looking back, and I'm not taking back the things and concerns that I threw out there. Those are all still valid to me because of how the cake was made, how we got here, the process. But I do kind of understand, like, you got to come off as likable. You got to kind of bring some energy to the room because everybody's looking at you. They're not looking at anybody else. They're looking at you. So maybe that's why it came off over the top used car salesman. Anyways, not going to rehash all that. What I want to get to is his press conference after night 1 of the NBA draft. I was just very impressed. He was extremely direct, articulate, and said many of the things that I have been sitting here complaining about. Many of you have complained about. Grant has complained about, which is basketball IQ. The Kings last year, bottom 5 in the league in basketball IQ. Scott Perry wants to see some of those guys. You combine that with the way they got into the first round. Now, we can discuss what this does at the guard position. I do see Scott's logic in that he thinks Neek is closer to a 3 than a 2. Could you play him at the 3? Sure, probably. But at the 4, probably not. Maybe you can guard up. Maybe. But we still have to look at what the Kings are going to do because you don't have that one true.
Well, the biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
And the names the Kings are being tied to, I've already talked about my feelings on Dennis Schroeder, Russell Westbrook. You can say the Kings are really interested in bringing Russell Westbrook in, but is Russell Westbrook interested in coming to the Kings? Your best hope to get either of those guys would be with Schroeder. The reports are the entire MLE, $14.1 million, mid-level exception. I would guess if Schroeder is worth 14.1, Russ is going to be worth at least 14.1, coming off of what he has done in Denver. And here's my other thing too with Russ. If you made me pick between the two, I'm going Russ. But Russ was playing around much better players. Schroeder was not, and he played worse to me. When he went to Golden State, he shot below 30%. It's not good. And when I think of Schroeder, and tell me if I'm wrong, I would like to know your opinions on this. When I think of Schroeder, I don't think of him as much as a floor general. I think of him more as a scoring point guard. Now, maybe it's just because I've watched at the wrong times. Maybe it was matchups where he had the advantage going into the game, and that was the game plan. But when I think about who this Kings point guard needs to be, and I think about IQ, I don't know with Schroeder if it's there. So, but anyways, Scott Perry, take a bow. It is not a huge step, but I think it was a very good first step with what he's done over the last 2 days. We can get to some audio from Scott as well. But like I said, you got to keep this stuff in perspective. And I got to give Dennis a little bit credit, just a little bit of credit. Dennis has got a lot of run this week on the Kings court. Between us needing to go to a ruling from Kevin John about Dennis's conduct down in Stockton to, he gets excited this time of year. Dennis is like, Dennis, is basketball your life, my man? I mean, it's my occupation. And sometimes I wonder if I am working hard enough, the way that you are sending me DMs all the time. But this is where your compliment comes, Dennis. And this is why you are not making a list.
You just made the list!
It's because you DM'd him. You didn't text me. You're not blowing my phone up in that way where I'm like, uh-oh, is my wife? No, it's Dennis. So putting these stats out, that's not fair. I don't like that. Come on. Small sample sizes. Kevin Durant, how many years was he at Texas? 1 year? Carmelo? Let me think. 1 year? Championship? Did Grant light you up? Okay, so I won't light you up too bad, but I'm going to remind you of this from earlier in the week. One of our other justices in the King's Court,
Order
Kevin
in the
John,
court.
ABC 10, had to come in and issue a ruling on Dennis's conduct in Stockton. So, yeah, like this is the stuff. Like, let's not take it too far. I get it's fun. Like how much, Dennis, and I know, Dennis, did you come up with that stat? I don't think so, because the basketball's next to it. But somebody is digging and scratching and clawing to find something like that. That is nuts. So, anyways, we move along. There's still some news and notes in the NBA. This was kind of surprising, not really surprising because of his price tag and the change in management ownership. But Masai Ujiri out as the GM of the Toronto Raptors. He was doing the draft for the Raptors. By the way, probably one of the more recognizable GMs in the NBA in a good way, not in a bad way like Nico Harris. But his price tag, man, $14 million. That's a lot of money, $14-15 million. So maybe he requested to be released. You don't know how that went down, but clearly it didn't look like new management was going to want to pay a GM that much money. But he has done enough. He's brought a championship to Toronto. He showed his cojones of steel for trading for Kawhi Leonard, knowing that he was a rental, and then winning a championship that year with Kawhi Leonard. That was pretty damn big. So he is out in Toronto. Interesting. Ace Bailey, I want to talk a little bit more about the Ace Bailey situation. Seems like now we're on a better track. But as we've become a little bit further away from that first round of the draft, there's been some more information that's come out. And I'm not here to bury him. I'm not. I actually want to talk about it because it's a bigger problem than a lot of people know. And I actually earlier in the week talked about one of my roommates at SDSU, Marcus Slaughter. His dad had his claws into Marcus, and that was not during the NIL period of basketball, the NIL era in college. So want to get into that, but it does appear he is going to be reporting to Utah. I'll tell you what, I was in Utah. Was it about no, it's been about a month and a half. It was May 9th. Yeah, I was in Utah in May, and I flew to Utah, but then I drove back. It's a cool place, at least what I saw of Salt Lake City. I know, especially during the winter, it's supposed to be even more pretty, but I like it. Good place to be, Ace. I don't know what everybody's pushing back about, but Austin Ainge and Danny Ainge, man, they don't mess around. You got to give them some respect. Got to give them huge respect. And okay, here we go. We're going to stir the pot. Are we ready to stir the pot? The San Francisco Giants have announced that they are going to erect. Yes, go ahead, Haunted Horse. You can go clip that audio. They are going to erect a statue of Barry Bonds outside of, is it Oracle Stadium now? Oracle Park? I believe there's already 5 statues, or this will be the 5th. So I've got a couple questions, and I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I'm cool with it. But which version of Barry are they going to do? Are they going to cheap out and do the skinny version of Barry? I mean, you can change all the uniforms and keep that body style. Or are you going to go all in and go the jacked, juiced version of Barry? And if you do that, are you going to have a needle sticking out of his butt? I don't know. How far are we going? I also know this. If the Giants are in the market for statue makers, I am pretty sure whoever made the Dwayne Wade statue is looking for work. I bet you the Giants could get a discount on that. I mean, look, it's like, what is that? I kind of have some undercover conspiracy theories about this. Like, nationally, how much would we have paid attention to Dwayne Wade getting a statue in Miami? I wouldn't have. Maybe a quick glance. But in these days, like going viral and everything, like, is Dwayne Wade trolling everybody else with his statue? Now, some say that maybe his wife, Gabrielle Union's like, no, like, I think that looks good, honey. And Dwayne didn't have, for the second time today, using cojones to put his foot down. But that is freaky. I don't need, like, it's like Antoine Walker with Shaq's bald head meets, I don't know.
That don't make no sense.
Like if Ron Killing shaved his head, R-Truth.
That don't make no sense.
So that dude or gal who made that probably still looking for work. Or whoever created Royale. I bet you that person's out of a job. You can, San Francisco, you're welcome. I'm not going to charge you a finder's fee. I'm not going to ask for a cut. But there you go. Hit either of those two up. In fact, hit both of them up, because one is in to creating characters, making it look, really kind of weird. Okay. And the other, no statue making. So might be a perfect match. And then, of course, we've got to decide, or the Kings need to decide by the 29th. As we sit, it is the 27th. What's the decision going to be on Keon Ellis? You picking up the option or not? So we can talk about that as well. The log jam at guard, which I have thrown out there. I'll tell you, I think all the pressure in the world now is on Devin Carter. Scott Perry, and we'll listen to some of the audio, they want guys that can play both ends of the floor. And I think Devin can play both ends of the floor. Now, the first thing you think of when you are talking about offense is scoring. I'm not thinking scoring. I am thinking more along the lines of rebounding, the hustle stuff, all the things that he does on defense. Also transition. I don't think he's terrible there. But the ball handling. Devin Carter, if he wants to be part of this rotation, he is going to have to be able to show this summer a big jump, a massive jump with his ball handling and his ability to run a team. And remember, it's going to be against lesser talent. The talent that's playing in the summer league outside of your first round picks, most of your first round picks, you're playing at best, at highest G League competition, arguably below G League competition, because a lot of the guys playing in summer league won't even make G League teams. And there's this really interesting thing now. Teams are reaching out to see, before they use their second round picks with some guys, if their client would be willing to sign a two-way deal with that team. Because if they don't get a full-time deal, they're then free agents. They could go sign with the G League and play for a team. They want it to be for their team. So real interesting dynamics with the second round and how that is kind of evolving. But of course, the biggest part of the show, all of you, what's up today? How we doing? I'll tell you what, Napes. Okay, I want your guys' reaction on this. I know many of you will remember all the times where Grant would get handed one of those reads, or somebody would go into Grant's ear and say, okay, time for the Winter Jam concert read. And Grant would slide it over to Jerry, and Jerry would have no idea who the artists are. It's like these names. It's like, wait, how do you? And it would turn into the funniest things because Jerry would bring like his Jerry energy to it, but he'd be mispronouncing rappers' names or like calling them something completely different. Or if he hit it right on the head, it was awesome, right? And so every now and again, Grant will still mess with me. This is what happened on Friday night as we were closing up our draft day show, our draft night recap, after the Clippers made their 30th pick.
Unbelievable. All right, the first round is in the books. All right. I'll let you tell everyone who the Clippers selected.
The Clippers. Here we go. Oh, Yannick Conan Niederhauser.
Okay.
That's pretty good, huh?
Yeah, I'm actually very, very impressed. Now, if Jerry were here, it would be really, really good to have him on the call. Jerry, who did the Clippers just select?
You know what he'd say?
Ooh, that's a great question.
That's what Jerry would say. Okay, so he slid that card to me digitally. He's like, you try to handle that mouthful. And I'm like, you know what? I think I did pretty good. So I had to pull the actual record. So what grade are you giving me for this? What grade? Because this is how it's pronounced.
With the 30th pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the LA Clippers select Yannick Conan Niederhauser from Freyschel, Switzerland, and Penn State University.
Nailed it. That's like it. That's like a PSA 9, right? Maybe the card's just a tiny bit off center. The Conan was a little bit off. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. Rhino, I don't often do this. Got to pat myself on the back for that. That was a mouthful. Go look at that name. And that's live on the air. First time I'm seeing that name, I'm like, nailed it. Now, why am I boasting? Because that will likely never happen again. That was like maybe one of my best moments ever. All right, we're talking statues. Ronaldo's is worse. I disagree. I saw the Ronaldo one. We did this before. I think Ronaldo's, it's not good. It is not good. And by the way, like, how long has Ronaldo been playing soccer? I just heard he signed another contract. You know, another guy that Father Time is not caught up with? It's Al Horford. Brad Stevens came out and said, we really want, I really want Al Horford as our, we want him back. We want him back. I remember being in college watching him play for Florida. That dude's got another 82 in him, and they think he's serviceable? That's crazy. Is there really an Al Horford market right now? Man, off the clock. Good job, Patrick. Love it. Hope you're having a good Friday. Use the phone line, y'all. It's Friday. Get up in here.
Hello, Friday. I've been waiting for you for a long time.
Yeah, I don't miss the Heat. It is hot. You might be talking about the Heat basketball team. It is hot. Tristan not putting that back on the screen. Why would the kid be so upset about going to Utah? There will be plenty of minutes for him to play. It's two-sided, in my opinion. You know, like, yes, he's an adult. He is an adult, so he has a brain. He's been through enough up until this point in his life to realize, hopefully, what's right and what's wrong. And I would pray that he sees that. Did you see some of these guys that were coming up talking about we lived off of a generator for power for 8 years? Like, you are making generational wealth. You are in the top 1%. 60 players a year get drafted to the NBA. Like, and you're just not, it's a given. It's just a whatever. And I wonder with some guys if that's a product now of NIL, because you as a college athlete, it's kind of funny. As a college athlete, your top tier college athletes, they have the leverage. They have the leverage for the most part, especially with the transfer portal. But the NBA is a completely different animal, altogether different. As we get more removed and we have a bigger sample size of what NIL is going to look like now that universities can pay players, they're going to have to do the NBA some type of education, just like they put them through the rookie forums about ethics and just the system in general. I mean, what this kid didn't realize, like, you can only make a good impression once. And okay, you don't want to be in Utah, then play out your 4 years and go somewhere else, show out, and then pick the city you want to go to. But it's not so much the kid. In fact, I think it's really it's almost what's the right word? I'll think of that right word and we'll get back to it in a second, because somebody just called up that I didn't know they were still around. You know, like, we have very high thoughts about this guy in the King's Court. Listen to the list of just nice things that we always
Are
say
very
about him.
smart, very talented, very clever, very funny, very well read, very engaging, very well liked. You have a great work ethic. I don't need to worry about you, dude.
We never need to worry. Well, I did for a while. Assuming this is the real one. Okay, is that you?
Why the hell are you so pale in summertime?
I don't look pale, bro.
Dude, why are you so pale in summertime? Like, do you ever go outside or just like follow Kings like nonstop?
No, you know what? Okay, call me out. I have changed my diet 100%, but no, I have not been walking as much as I should. All right.
Well, I mean,
Challenge
I'm
taken.
just saying you're really pale, and you know, like I miss when you were fatter. You know, you were more legit. I enjoyed you a lot more when you were fat. But congratulations. Yeah, on serious note, hey, what was the like? Could you remind us, like, what was the path of Kings not having any kind of draft capital at all? I feel like most teams that trade high value players, like, you know, like elite players, they end up with draft capital. But I feel like you know, Grant said yesterday, he's like, well, we have Fox Capital like coming up in the future, but I just don't know how we ended up in this situation where it's like we don't even, like, we have a bad team and we don't even have picks.
You know what, PK? I'm not going to answer it. I pulled this because it hit me hard when I heard this. My guy, Rob, what's Rob's last name? Anyways, anyways, doesn't matter. Give and Go on the NBA Network. They're talking about the situation that Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks are in right now. Check out the comparison to the Sacramento situation, and it explains exactly why you're where you're at right now. Check this out.
We just traded for Porzingis. Do we pay him? Trae Young's our franchise guy. He does have a player after the following year. What do we pay him? Dyson Daniels, breakout season. That's why it's so hard, Rob. The job never stops, and they're going to have to make decisions to, I think they'll extend at least one or two of those guys. Do you do all three? Do you wait? That's why it's difficult being executive in the NBA. They're never really calm waters. There are always big decisions to be made.
Okay, so your thought process is, while the number of $46 million for Trae Young is certainly advantageous for the team because he's owed an extension, if they can't come to terms, Trae Young is quickly going to be included in that bucket of De'Aaron Foxes. That's, well, if we can't get this guy to sign an extension, considering his value on the trade market, do we need to consider getting rid of him now before it's too late? Because if he's not going to sign the extension, he's most certainly going to opt out at the summer of 2026, where he's got that player option. So you're right. It was a short-sighted thought from me, considering that number he's making next year, but he will go from one of the league's clutchest players and biggest villains and the representation of that franchise to now, I'm going to be out for the next week due to illness. And then the same way, not that De'Aaron Fox was stomping his feet in Sacramento, but, we found out very quickly from some pretty sound reporting in journalism that behind the scenes, he's trying to facilitate a trade because he can't come to terms with his incumbent franchise. And Trae Young may go down that same avenue if he and the Hawks can't come to terms on, I want $64 million a year for the next 4 years and a player option. And the Hawks say, you know what, thank you for everything, but you're just not worth that. We'll let you go out and get that from another team. Let us know who that is, and then we'll work out a trade with them the same way that Sacramento and San Antonio came to terms. The problem for Sacramento, in the case of Trae Young in Atlanta, is yes, you can find that trade partner, but you're not getting Devin Vassell. You're not getting Steph Castle. You didn't even get Keldon Johnson in that deal. They were able to acquire De'Aaron Fox because of the player's leverage. In Atlanta, wherever Trae goes, is going to get back the similar type of package. Not one that makes you a championship contender, or is even 75 cents on the dollar for the quality of player that is exiting. So I guess that's kind of my way of saying, I hope things work out between both parties. And if they don't, we will find out at some point this season, especially before the trade deadline.
So there you go. Rob
That's good
Perez
stuff.
freaking nailed it.
That's good. That's good shit right there.
That is how you end up in this situation.
Yeah. Man, it's like he's so right. I cannot keep emphasizing the same thing. I think like you guys said, we were so close to having a really good team. Man, it's like before, you see Heat, they're just salivating over Mitchell being on their roster. They Heat are holy shit. Heat picked up Jakubaitis at 20, bro.
I know.
Bro, at 20. This dude is unbelievable. This was I don't know, do you think that the team and these people that are in charge can fill the holes this off season? Because
no,
I don't think they can, because I don't know where the hell they're gonna pull a point guard out of their ass. So I'm not really sure.
No, you're looking to. Hey PK, I'm gonna drop you because I'm getting a ton of feedback.
Yeah. Go ahead, buddy.
Appreciate you, dude. Good to hear.
All right, love you, buddy.
Where are you at, by the way? Where are you in Mexico again?
No, I'm in Atlanta. Someone totaled my car and doing physical therapy, so I figure I'll call you.
Oh,
Bye.
He is so mysterious. PK is the most mysterious person that calls this channel and watches this channel. No, you're not fixing it in a season. You're not. You're looking to find, and I use this analogy probably 3 months ago. when we kind of saw this does not look good with Zach LaVine. And the return. Think about this, the return. So with the De'Aaron Fox trade, Rob Perez, it's freaking brilliant how he tied those two situations together. And he nailed it on why Sacramento is where they're at now. But you've got to hunker down. There's a big storm coming. And hopefully the storm is not as bad as it looks on the radar. But if you're the Kings, you've got to hunker down. You've got to shelter in, board up the windows, and just try to put some Band-Aids onto the areas of the house that there's no way to cover. And the point guard position is really kind of one of those because you're so limited to the MLE. And that's why I said I think there's a lot of pressure on Devin Carter to be able to perform as a point guard. Perform well, show you can be a backup point guard. But back to the Fox thing, you getting Nick Clifford, that's part of the Fox deal. We can now tie that directly to the De'Aaron Fox deal. And I'm almost certain, I would have to go back and look, but I think the second round picks, well, oh no, they wouldn't have translated it. Never mind. I was thinking about Valanciunas. Maybe I'm wondering which picks they used for Valanciunas. So anyways, we can tie Nick Clifford directly to the Fox deal now because that's what you got with that first round pick in 2027. Yeah, you're not short of turning this thing on its head or getting 75 cents on the dollar for your assets. And I would argue if you're looking at Zach LaVine, it's probably closer to 35 to 40 cents on the dollar because of the contract and the fact that he can opt in for another year. Sabonis, if there was a team that thought Domas could really take him over the top, I mean, like, he's a perfect fit for this system, and they had the right assets. Like Desmond Bane, for instance. Who saw somebody coming in to take Desmond Bane and giving up 4 first-round picks? 4 first-round picks. Let's say a team like Sabonis that much. Then, okay, you're getting fair return on your asset. De'Aaron Fox, that wasn't even 75 cents on the dollar. And I think that's why many of you guys started calling me, and you gals, or I should say some of you that have been with the channel since last year. This time last year, when Grant and I were doing shows, I said, you better start thinking and exploring the market for De'Aaron Fox right now. He had 2 years left on his deal, because if we would have gotten to this point and he was still on the roster, this is ground zero to trade De'Aaron Fox before the season starts in October. You would have had more leverage. The closer you get to that contract, the less leverage you have. Now, in De'Aaron Fox's case, the team had more leverage than it actually showed. And that's why it's kind of confusing. And I've been saying it for the last probably month that the Kings served up De'Aaron Fox on a silver platter. And they didn't just give him to San Antonio. They force-fed him to San Antonio. San Antonio wanted to sit back and say, all right, well, we want to see how Castle develops. We want Wemby to develop some more. We've got draft picks coming up. You know, we're not ready to commit to a big piece yet because we don't exactly know what that big piece is going to be. But when you're San Antonio and you have a team, and Sacramento's not talking to anybody else, it's only San Antonio. It's because Rich Paul was driving the ship. De'Aaron Fox never said, San Antonio is my destination. It was Rich Paul that told De'Aaron, hey, I think San Antonio is best for you. And that's how De'Aaron got behind San Antonio. Rich Paul said it himself during the All-Star break. So you're dealing with one team. And so now this team's looking like, okay, what's the risk versus the reward? We get a season and a half of De'Aaron Fox for 4 second-round picks? What's the harm? And I know there's a third team involved, etc., but they gave up relatively nothing of their core. Just what Rob Perez said. You couldn't even get a player out of them. So that's what I'm saying. San Antonio's looking at it, and it's like, okay, we'll try De'Aaron Fox out. San Antonio is not pot committed to De'Aaron Fox by any means. And so if I'm De'Aaron Fox, now I'm thinking, all right, Rich. Like, I'm looking straight at Rich Paul, because if you are a player the caliber of De'Aaron Fox, the caliber of Trae Young, what Rob's talking about right there, you don't go into the last season of your deal. You don't. You either get a short extension for one more year with a team option or a player option, or you extend fully. You do not go into that season unless the team is saying, you know what, we'll just wait. If you help us, cool. De'Aaron's not going to be cool with that, though. That's the thing. So I can't guarantee because I'm not De'Aaron Fox, I'm not Rich Paul. I can almost promise you that De'Aaron Fox is picking up the phone every day and saying, Rich, what's going on? Am I getting my extension with San Antonio? I don't know that they thought that out as well as they should have. In the Kings end, that was it was awful. It was awful. The Kings were the only team in the Zach LaVine market. Do you remember before the season started where there were reports that the Bulls were willing to give up draft assets for somebody to take Zach LaVine? And all you get back is Zach LaVine? That's how you end up there. Rob Perez nailed it. Nailed it. So back to my analogy, you got to hunker down and get through these next 2 years. Just got to do it. Vinnie Mac guarantee. What's going on with Vinnie Mac? You have my 2025 transit. Okay, yeah, thanks. Sorry, I didn't know exactly which two it was. There you go. Peter putting it up there. Appreciate you, Peter. Statistician, fact checker here on the King's Court. I would bet Christie had a lot of influence in the Clifford pick. Seems like he could be a DC type of player with his size and skill set. He's not as big as Doug. Yeah, and I thought that Scott did a good job. Scott Perry of really Scott again. He blew me away. My expectations from when he had those first two press conferences to the press conference he had at the end of the first round blew me away. In fact, why don't we play a little bit of that right now? I've got it right here. Scott Perry after the first
what it
round.
means to be a Sacramento Kings basketball player. And so going into draft prep, and I've just been here 2 months, that has been our mission, what we work towards each and every day as a staff, as a group, to find players who are going to fit that identity. As a reminder, things that are important that we're going to value here: competitive, tough, team-oriented, accountable, disciplined, and professional. And so, with that, we selected a young man tonight by the name of Neat Clifford from Colorado State, who we believe displays and lives a lot of those values that are important to us. So we're excited about that. Obviously, we were able to take advantage and move into this draft into the first round. We came into the night with not having the first round pick, but we were fortunate enough that we were able to get something done. He was a guy that we really targeted and we had a really good grade on. And so we feel like.
So, Germ, this is going to be, it's going to seem like it's because of recent success, but it's 100% a TJ McConnell type. They don't grow on trees. TJ McConnell, Kobe White, Peyton Pritchard. I like Ty Jerome. I am okay with Russell Westbrook. I am. Those kind of guys, those would be my ideal point guards. When you look at a point guard that can play or brings the best, I believe, out of Domantas Sabonis, the first thing you got to look at is Malik Monk's traits, because Malik Monk does bring the best, in my opinion, out of Domas, and that's because of the pick and roll. So I need a point guard that is really good at the pick and roll. And Malik Monk, by the way, not a point guard. He's a scoring guard. But he was good enough with that pick and roll that I thought the Kings last year were better off with him at point guard because the Kings centered the offense around the pick and roll. Those are the ones that immediately come to mind. There's more out there in the NBA, but you're not going to get many of those guys. They just don't come up too often in deals because they're so valuable. Look at how valuable TJ McConnell was. And I think it does help too when you have, like, if you look at the Beam team year, I talked about this the other day. That year you had this, and I think this was the idea for the Kings, the way that they were drafting those in-between guards. Their intention for those in-between guards was never to be the ball handlers. I think the intention was more on the defensive side of the ball when it came to Davion Mitchell, when it came to Devin Carter. And the expectation was you were going to have this obscure, different, two-headed attack at point guard, where any given possession, it could be De'Aaron Fox penetrating, getting to the paint, the hoop, kicking out, getting fouled, or shooting. He was so great with his floaters, his pull-ups, really good mid-range percentage. You were going to get that, or you were going to get stretched out with Domantas Sabonis and his passing ability. And that's where you brought the rest of the guys on the team, the three-point shooters, into it, running off of the DHO. Well, the Beam team year, that balance was great. It's awesome. That's why teams had such a hard time stopping it. And then on top of that, you bring Malik Monk in, you throw in another aspect of a different look, which is the pick and roll with Domas. And so now you're throwing these different looks at teams, and you've got them on their heels. The Kings were the most predictable team in the NBA the last 2 seasons, hands down. Hands down. It's undebatable. What happened was, after De'Aaron broke his hand in the playoffs, for whatever reason, the three ball became more important than penetrating, meaning now you've really got just Sabonis running the point guard. And if De'Aaron is not playing, etc., missing time, not playing well, not driving, you don't really have any other creators. You had somebody, the Kings had too few creators and too many finishers. And so back to TJ McConnell, look at the difference between Tyrese Halliburton and TJ. 2 different types. And the defense has to be on their heels at any time. In fact, TJ McConnell was able to get Tyrese opened up and get Siakam opened up. And so for me, when I look at, and the Kings are nowhere here, it's got to be a multifaceted approach that's built around the same principles. Doesn't mean the same action. Action and principles are completely separate, but built around the same principles of toughness. You're setting hard screens. You're blowing screens up defensively. Keon Ellis, one of the slipperiest guys to screen in the NBA, really is. Domantas Sabonis set some of the hardest screens in the NBA, and that's why you saw he fouled out. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. If Peter wants to look them up, he can. But his foul outs this season were through the roof compared to the rest of his career because guys were not running the pick and roll properly with him. Malik was doing it okay. The problem with Malik was not so much how he was using Sabonis's screen, it was what he was doing with it after. There was a little bit too much of what they called the snake dribble, the S dribble, where instead of taking your advantage and attacking it, you're kind of slowing down and switching directions, hoping the defender is coming hard after you, and then they bang into you and you go into your shot motion, and you hopefully get an and one. But other guys just were not rubbing shoulders with Domas. And when you don't rub shoulders with your big man, there is zero room to gain an advantage. In fact, it creates a disadvantage, and it creates more space for the officials to call out those illegal screens and those tiny little nuances where it looks like a center is putting their hip out, etc. So, yeah, I know that was just a lot of basketball for you, but it's got to be multifaceted. So, and I think the principles, that's just that toughness. It's the IQ. It is also, I really liked Doug's comments earlier this season about using the home during Doug's time as head coach. I thought that was the loud, and in stretches, I thought that was the loudest I had ever heard the Golden One Center. And for the first time, it felt like the Kings were playing ping pong back and forth with the crowd. And, you know, the crowd would feed on them and they would feed on the crowd. And it was all centered really around defense. It was centered around transition. It wasn't centered around fancy passes and 360 dunks, because I'm not going to say for anybody else, but when I think about Sacramento Kings basketball, when it's been at its best, when it's been at its worst, there's still a degree of integrity. There's a degree of physicality. There's never giving up and defending your damn home court. And Doug talked about that not too long after he stepped into the role. In fact, I think I have his comments right here.
You know, Arco Arena had its own, there was wood and metal and concrete, and when you start bouncing all that together, it makes strange sounds. And this building is beginning to define itself. Golden One Center is part of my message to them is like, nobody comes in your house messing with your stuff. You must protect your house. And to watch the way that they continuously fight possession after possession after possession. And I know from being somebody who played in front of these people that they truly, truly appreciate when you open your coat and you say, this is me, baby. I'm here and this is what I'm going to do. So for me, like, that's like a super huge thing, is like when you come to SAC, we're getting down. And I love what the guys are bringing.
That to me, that's your principles. That's your principles. That and the Neek Clifford pick, I think that plays towards those principles. I think Keon Ellis plays towards those principles. I think Jake LaRavia plays towards those principles. Those principles that Doug's ultimately talking about are what makes the best teams defensively in the NBA the best teams. It's they can switch 1 through 5. And you have a group. If you can switch 1 through 5, I call you a universal piece. You fit anywhere in any NBA city. And I think the Kings have a decent handful of those universal pieces. And based off of what Scott Perry has been saying, and I'm going to play some more of it here in a second, it seems like that's what he's trying to kind of look at as well. Because he's talked about before this defense, he's talked again about IQ, both sides of the floor. So I am more encouraged than I had been. Tristan, you have been warned, my man.
Where'd you learn to talk like this?
Tristan.
You just made the list!
What's up with you today, Tristan? Have you been getting the cold shoulder lately at home? Come on, man. I say one word and it becomes a problem. Back to Scott Perry here for a couple more thoughts, and then we'll get to some other audio. Later, we've got our wrestling segment coming up, probably about 4:30 for Wrestling with Adam. Not like literally wrestling Adam, but we're talking wrestling.
Like we were fortunate to get there and get him. He's very versatile as a player. He's a two-way player. You've heard me say that before, and you're going to hear me say that a lot. A guy that plays both sides of the floor, and that's important to what we want to get established here. He's improved each and every year throughout his career. He's an improving three-point shooter. So again, we're excited to get him in the Kings uniform and help develop him, watch him grow. And I'm sure for the fan base here in Sacramento, you'll find what a quality young man he is the more you get to know him. And that's important to us as well. Someone who
good job
wants
there.
to be here and is going to assimilate himself very well into the culture here in Sacramento. So with that being said, I will open it up to some questions.
Hi, Scott. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Was Neek kind of the guy that you had your eye on? Were there a number of guys that you were watching to fall to a certain range? Walk us through how this kind of happened.
Obviously, he was one of the key guys that we looked at. There were a number of players that we did like in the draft, but again, in terms of fitting the identity, he was a small group of guys that we had really identified, and we were just fortunate enough to be able to get in that position to get him. And one of the things I said to all of you in the beginning too, when I first got here, we were going to be very prudent and opportunistic. So it all worked out tonight. We put a lot of effort into.
Yeah, and so if you go back on the channel and you look at the Beam Team year and the shows that we did when we got to the trade deadline, and I understand why the Kings did not mess with that chemistry, that group at the deadline, but we were talking heavy about getting a bona fide point guard. We thought they would need that because De'Aaron had a great year, but remember the Kings played in a lot of tight games, and everybody, and I'm not putting him down. I've said this about the quote unquote clutch player of the year. Yeah, it's a great honor. You're clutch, but what about SGA? Their teams don't have to play in those clutch games. They don't let it get that close. And De'Aaron, again, great year. He was an all-star, although it was a fill-in. And his playoffs, he was the best player in that series until he got hurt. But at times, a little bit of disinterest in doing the things that were working. Getting to, you get one more point for the three-point shot, but there's so much more value. Jerry and I have been preaching this for a minute. There's so much more value in getting to the paint. It opens up better shots. It keeps the defense on their toes. You can draw fouls. You can get the other team into the penalty. You can get guys into foul trouble, targeting matchups. That is many times more important than the extra point, because if you're going to the free throw line, then you get to set your defense, et cetera, et cetera. And so Monty did get GM of the year, but remember this, and I'm not knocking Monty whatsoever. That team, if you listen to when Mike Brown had his introductory press conference, that was supposed to be a defensive team. That was not scheduled to be an offensive team. And then all of a sudden, Summer League, you see Keegan hitting a ton of threes, the Kings shooting it at a high clip. It bleeds into the regular season, and they end up having the highest NBA offensive rating in the history of the league. It was something unexpected. Monty and Mike did a great job that year. Now, I think the playoffs were, for Mike, he did not adjust. And part of that, Sabonis needed to adjust too. There's certain things coaches can adjust, but as a basketball player, there's also things you can do that your coach shouldn't have to tell you. And so it was a little bit of a combination of both of those. But it was, I think we can say safely that 22-23, when the Kings broke the 16-year playoff drought, it was an outlier of a season. It was an outlier. And I know that they won 46 the year after, but if the Kings would have got past the Warriors, I am fairly confident they probably would have been in the Western Conference Finals. Fairly confident. Can't say where they go from there, but that's where we get into playing the what ifs, and I'm not a big fan of that. What if Peja isn't airballing a three? What if the Kings made their free throws in game set? We could go on for days. So back to Scott Perry.
Studying this draft and kind of finding out where we thought people may go, and really kind of surprised he dropped really to where he did, but happy that he did, and again, just excited to get to work with him.
Scott, walking into the building, did you enter today with the intention of moving into the first round? And at what point, when you noticed Nick
that was crazy
be there, did you feel like you had to start making calls and pouncing?
Intention is a strong word, but again, like I said, being prudent and opportunistic. I think if it presented itself, we were going to be ready. And, you know, one of the things you do over a couple months, you know, we talk to every team in the league, and you get, there's a lot of chatter that goes in and around the draft, as you all know, and you in the podcast world for sure. I'm sure Matt keeps up with that. And so we were prepared, though, for it. And so we weren't going to be reckless. So it had to be someone that we really thought was worthy of moving into the first round to go get, that we feel like can help our basketball team, not only in the short term, but as we move forward, as we continue to build out this roster and this organization.
Okay. Scott, when you look at Meek and how he fits into your roster, can you just dive into that for us as well? And the fact that he's a 5-year guy, 23 years old, that factor into you guys taking him tonight?
One thing for me that's always been important is a guy's production.
How do I know that Ears pronounced it right? I know that Ears pronounced it right because they go through literal training on the top 100 prospects and their names. Training. And there's somebody, by the way, that's standing right by the edge of the stage, right by the curtain. They're a curtain tugger. And they remind Silver the correct pronunciation. Also, if Silver needs, if he can't get it from there to the podium, they've also got things, he can look at you. The cameras can have stuff scrolling. You can have the pathetic, is that what it is? Did I just mess up? Prophetic. Or parentheses to say how to name it. I'm telling you, Ears nailed it.
And his arc of improvement. And I think he's demonstrated both of those things. And I know we live in a world now where a lot of the players that are selected high in the draft usually are, one and dones, and people, don't want to pass on the potential of a lot of the great young players. But for me, getting a guy like this who is ready both mentally and physically to maybe step on the basketball court this coming season, I think is important. Now, obviously, he's going to have to come here and earn his stripes and show that he's worthy of that, but I really believe that he is up to the challenge. Enjoyed really getting the chance to spend time with him and talk with him when we were in Chicago. He was one of the young men we were able to interview and get the chance to meet, so felt like, had a good handle on him, and so looking forward to working with him.
Scott, I know some other things will be explained later, though, but once again, Kings have a guard, and it actually looks like an exceptional selection. But how are you going to juggle this type of thing when you're already guard heavy right now?
Well, here's a guy that played small forward in college as well, so he's very versatile. And I think if you look at the league now, it's about having depth. I mean, you look at the two teams that were in the finals this year and the ultimate champion in Oklahoma City. Both Oklahoma City and Indiana were very deep and very versatile, guys that could play multiple positions. This guy played with the ball in his hands. He can play all the perimeter positions. So it was just important to get the talent in here and the rest will figure itself out. That's why we got Doug Christie in here as the coach, and I'm confident he's going to be able to figure that out.
Good one. Really good one. Good one. Both guys cheering out for you. Kings need guards. Dennis, I think Scott's kind of explaining what he envisions. And remember, Grant did a great job of bringing this up. This regime is going to look at the players a little bit different than Monty did. You got two different minds. So who knows? I have not heard anything, nothing indicating it, but I think now more than ever, the expectation, considering he was a lottery pick, was Devin a lottery pick? Yeah, I think he was. Maybe I'm wrong there. No, he was. Considering that, the expectation is, I think they're looking and hoping and going to be watching the Summer League very closely to see if that is your backup point guard. And if it's not, he could be expendable. I mean, he might be expendable now. We don't know. I don't think anybody is off the table with the exception. And here's the other guy. I'm putting all the pressure on Devin Carter. What's that mean for Keon Ellis? Like, is Scott Perry looking at Nick Clifford and saying, okay, well, maybe, maybe we pick up the option on Keon, but after that, maybe Nick is the fill-in. Like, you just don't know. And to me, that would be tremendously stupid, but you don't know. A little bit more, Scott, and then we'll move on.
Scott, when you bring up Doug, one of the player comps for Neek is Doug Christie. Do you see that? Do you see the type of player that Doug was when he was in the pros, and how do you think that will help?
They look alike, don't they? That's one way. There's some similarities for sure. I'm dating back to my memory bank, remembering Doug's game a little.
My man Carf is in the house. What's up, dude? An A+ from the standpoint of you didn't have a first-round pick. I don't think there was a point guard on the board worthy of coming up for at that point. Now, you can again argue this guy's guard forward. I think he's a undersized 3 to me. I think he looks like a 2, but he's an undersized 3. But the fact that you turned what I believe would have turned into 2 second-round picks into a first-round pick in a year that you need bodies and you need guys to be able to walk on the floor. And I don't think Nick Clifford's going to be playing 30 minutes a game, but I think there is going to be an expectation that there's a role for him on this team in the rotation at some point. And with Nick Clifford, there's something different, Carf, especially when you looked at the point guards that were high. There's something different when it comes to guys that play 5 years in college, 4 years in college. It makes a huge difference with their ability to step directly into the NBA and be able to play. Now, there's still going to be a curve, but they are usually more ready than your one and dones outside of your, generational stars, your Cooper Flags, your LeBron Jameses, the guys like that, Zion Williamson, etc. So, and I think it's one of those interesting things, because if you remember last year, the Lakers ended up taking Dalton Connect, and Connect fell because of his age. And so Scott Perry, another A+, he really likes the guys that have multiple years of college. And here's the other thing this is what I want to look for too into the future with guys with multiple years in college or played out their full eligibility. I think it's going to make a real difference for guys that are at a same school for their eligibility, rather than 4 different programs in 4 different years. And the likelihood of that is not. I think it's going to be low with the transfer portal and NIL. So how will NBA scouts evaluate that? Yeah, that was crazy. Super crazy.
So the Portland Trailblazers select Colin Cowherd here.
There you go. Colin Cowherd. Jim Rome wasn't eligible. Man, Colin Cowherd. By the way, she voted on the NBA Finals MVP.
So the Portland Trailblazers select Colin Cowherd here.
You just made the list!
Not good. Carf, not sure if you're still here, but if you are, good to see you back, man. If you see this on the replay, love to see you back here in the chat. So I'm not going to hammer you over the head with any more Scott Perry. Go back and listen to the rest of it yourself. I think there's a plethora of really good stuff. It seemed like the plan was calculated. It was targeted. And I like that there was consistency in what he was looking for with the two guys. And many of us have complained that somebody needs to be able to stretch the floor and be able to defend the rim to play alongside Domas. Maybe he's that guy. Now, that big maybe is if you're sitting here today thinking he's going to come into the NBA and play 30 minutes a night. No. It's a second round pick. It's going to be a little bit. There's a reason. I don't know how many centers went in front of him. But it's the reason that he was a little bit lower. There was this. I don't know if I played this already. Scott Van Pelt asked about the steal of the second round. Here's what he had to say.
Who's somebody that you were thinking, wow, even
Scott
if it's a
Van
weak
Pelt
second
asking
round,
his guest.
this is real value here. I'm surprised that this player maybe was available late. Is there somebody that fits that description?
Definitely, Scott. I was surprised to see Maxime Reynaud fall all the way to 42. The Sacramento Kings drafted him there. He was 25th on my big board, first team All-ACC. 7'1", made 60+ threes this year at Stanford. Every team in the league is looking for a stretch five right now. He's mobile. He's athletic. He's high character. He's only been playing basketball for 4 years right now. He came to Stanford as a walk-on. His high school senior year was his first serious season of basketball. Victor Wembanyama and him are going to go toe-to-toe. I'm sure that's going to be a lot of fun. They're best friends. They're chess partners. I'm excited about Maxime Reynaud in Sacramento.
So there you go. No, I'm going to talk about Ace Bailey actually right now. There he is. We're going to get to it. There he is. He's still here. Love it. Yeah, I do want to get to Ace Bailey because I think this was not a great situation. And yes, it ultimately falls on the player because it's their reputation. It's their career. Now, if you have Rich Paul, if you have any of the big names at CAA representing you, and they're saying, hey, play this, play this, play this, it's going to be fine. Those guys have firepower in the league. Those guys have leverage in the NBA. His agent is a sole practitioner, or I should say his agent was at the time a sole practitioner. In fact, he had only had one other client besides his own son, Sharif Cooper, who is already out of the NBA 3 years later. Ace Bailey got some really bad advice. And you might be thinking, well, dude is a lottery pick in the NBA draft. Like, he's got to have some IQ to him. Of course, he has some IQ to him. But there's also times that you are conditioned conditioned to think certain things are normal. We all have different norms. We have different routines. We have different beliefs. You've seen cults that have existed, and you're like, how could somebody ever fall for that? Right? But they do. Ace Bailey came from a team where he played with the number 2 pick in the NBA or in the draft this year, and they were under 500 for the season at Rutgers. Under 500. So if I'm an NBA scout, I'm already starting to scratch my head a little bit and wondering, how does that happen? Was it everybody else around them? Is it that 2 stars don't fit well together? Do they both need the ball? Those questions are being asked. Yes, he attended the combine. Yes, he met with teams at the combine. But from all the reports I have read from people that were in those meetings, he left a lot. There was a lot left to desire. There was an aura of, I got this. They were asking him about situations as a rookie and shot selection as a rookie. What would you do here? What would you do there? And what they were looking for was, yeah, that's a shot I believe I can make, but, you know, as a rookie, getting adjusted to the league, the speed of the game, the way that it's called, the length of the schedule, that, yeah, that's probably not a good shot for me. But that's one that, but you know what? That I want to make sure, this is the key part. I want to make sure that I work hard enough with my player development coach so that that can become a shot that I think is a good shot for me and the team here in the NBA. Prove to you that that's a good shot. That's the kind of stuff they were looking for. Instead, they got, oh, no, I got that shot. Yeah, I work on that in practice every day. Yeah, that's not a problem. I'm taking that shot. So anyways, he didn't come off well in a lot of those meetings. And then you get to the draft and you have Omar Cooper, who is his agent, strong arming teams behind the scenes. Don't draft him. He doesn't want to play there. He ain't coming. You know, that's okay in certain situations. Let me think about the situations that worked out. Right off the top of my head, Kobe Bryant. Who's another one? Steph Curry. Is there any others? Eli Manning. It's too soon to know if Ace Bailey is going to be added to that side of the list, that list of players. But for now, we can say those players were the real deal. They had legitimate leverage. At a time, may I add, that players were not being paid for their services. They had legitimate leverage. Now, okay, Tristan brings up a great point. Bronny, you know why? But that's my point. Ryan Leaf, he was nothing. I'm bringing up the guys that literally could do that, the rarities, to show you, like, the guys that has worked out for, they have been all-time greats. All-time greats. Now, Eli, I get. He's not in the same company as Steph and Kobe. It would go Kobe, well, yeah. Okay, I don't want to start that can of worms. I would put it Kobe, Steph, Eli. But anyways, Bronny is an interesting case. Here's why Bronny had leverage, and Rich Paul did the exact same thing behind the scenes with him. First thing is, Bronny was not one of the 60 best prospects in basketball that year, last year. He wasn't. But the leverage was Rich Paul. Rich Paul represents so many of the most powerful players in the NBA that teams did not want to get on his bad side. So you have an agent that's respected, that every team knows. They have a relationship with Rich. They know what he can and can't do, what he can do to your team to make them better or make them worse. So that's why Bronny had leverage. Omar Cooper, interesting. So here's where things turn for me. We are now in an era where players are being paid, and it's the wild freaking West. Now schools can officially make direct payments to players. You have general managers of colleges now. I know of Division I athletes that I played with when I was in school. Obviously, yeah, you had to be in school to play. But their parents had convinced them. They didn't come from much. And their parents had them sign contracts that said, when you get a college scholarship, that money that you get from the scholarship is coming to me. Also, your housing, we're going to move in. They convinced the players that they would not have been to where they are now at 18 years old and heading to college and going to college for free, playing a sport, unless it was because they wouldn't be there without them. And that they needed to pay them back for that. So now in NIL, you have players that are coming from being paid, and you have people behind them. And I am not suggesting that Omar Cooper had his claws into Ace Bailey. I'm not suggesting that Ace Bailey's parents had their claws into Ace Bailey. But the most likely scenario here is this is being pushed not just by the agent that maybe he didn't even hire, that his parents may have hired. This is being pushed by the people around Ace Bailey that say, I don't want to go live in Utah because the money's already there from college. They know they've already gotten some money. Ace is their lottery ticket. I don't want to go live in Utah. And so you can be so damn blinded that it is the NBA. You're going to be making millions of dollars, but you still can't cut that cord from those people because they have mental control over you. You are listening to the words that they are saying, the actions that they're proposing, and putting it on a pedestal, even though you have other people around you saying, that's crazy, man. That's not normal. Like canceling workouts on the day of a workout, that's not normal. That's strategic. And to have this be your first, you can't make a second first impression. You can't. And so Danny Ainge and Austin Ainge, they said, we don't care. They think he's a good enough talent. He can come to Utah. He can go play overseas. We'll still own his rights. Or if you're Washington and you want him, you can pay the premium for him. You can tag on some picks and you can get him from us. But guess what? Teams, after they have seen this first impression play out, they know, they've seen how this story works. Because not only is it a distraction for the fan base, it becomes a silent distraction, not necessarily a silent. It is a constant distraction behind the scenes. It is a tug of war between the organization and the people with the claws into them, and sometimes the saddest situations are when it's parents. It's people that take advantage of these athletes. So yes, Ace Bailey pouting around after being drafted 5th because he wanted to go to Washington. Omar Cooper, excuse me, doubling down, saying, well, he ain't going to come to Utah. Ace, you ain't got to take that flight. No. You're going to go to Washington. Ace is just along for the ride. That's what's kind of sad about it. In the situation that I'm presenting, I'm not saying this is reality, but this is how it usually works. And it turns into a dumpster fire. And then the other team that said they really wanted him, yeah, we don't want him as much. Because what's going to happen? Are you worried about ruining a relationship with Omar Cooper and his future clients? No. Not a chance. So I am so happy to see this because it doesn't say Omar Cooper. If I had to put money on it, and I don't know that it ever will be reported. I hope things work out for this kid, even though he stepped. If you're a Utah fan, you're probably not thrilled, right? You're not thrilled that this whole thing's happened. You're not mad at the team. You're mad at the player. But if I had to put money on it, it's the family. It's the people around him saying, we don't want to live there. But we got to be close to you to control you. We can't let you see that this isn't normal. So when we saw this, Andrew Whitlieb, the president of sports marketing at GSE Worldwide, appeared on Front Office Sports today and dispelled any notion that that was the most important word to me, his client was disappointed about playing for the Jazz and wouldn't report to the team. Further, it went on to say that he will be going to Utah. Obviously, it's an honor to be selected in the top 5 of the NBA draft, and we think he can do a lot of great things there. Quote, we couldn't be happier to be out in Utah. Long considered one of the top players available in the draft, Whitley believes Utah is a perfect fit for Bailey's skills on the court. We think he can do a lot of great things out there, certainly should receive a ton of playing time, and he'll have a lot of chances to show what he can do. So we think it's a great situation for him basketball-wise. So guess what? He got a real agent. That's the first step. He got a real agent. It's sad. because he's probably been living in an alternate reality. And he's going to start seeing the light. And guess what? It's going to start at the exact same time as when he is going to be faced with an equally hard challenge of becoming a great NBA player. It's sad. There's these little things like you just know. Like if let's say a drunk driving, if a cop pulls behind a driver, they're going way too slow, then they're going way too fast. They're in and out of their lanes. What's the first thing that comes to mind? Oh, they might be drinking and driving or having a medical emergency. I'm going to pull them over and check. When you see all of these things that have gone on, and you see how Ace seems to be really, really charismatic, to a degree flashy. You saw the stuff he was wearing, his suit, etc. Seems like a good kid. He just, just bad advice. And I just feel bad that he may have missed out on being present in that moment and more focused on carrying out what's most important for everybody else when you work your entire life to get to the NBA. So looks like he's going to be in Utah for the press conference, which I believe is on Tuesday. Saturday is when I think he is going to be there. Maybe the press conference Saturday. No, I think it's Tuesday. Anyways, I don't want to get into the minutia on the details of their press conference because what do we care? But Utah is a really good spot for him. Great spot for him. And on the personal side, Danny Ainge and Austin Ainge might be the best thing that ever happened for this kid. Because if you don't think they're going to show this kid reality and draw a line in the sand, you better go look something else up because they will. But the fact that I saw a different name as his agent, so happy. I'm glad. Hopefully this is where it starts. He can rehab whatever happened. And more importantly, dude can do his thing. We're talking about 18, 19-year-olds that many times come from nothing. That was already a big jump. We've seen players fall out of the leagues immediately because of people around them. They get loose with their money. They think it's going to be there forever, right? Like Ace has already made, I don't know exactly what he's made, but I got to think it's in the 7 figures. Right? There's no guarantees, by the way, in the NBA either. What if you blow your knee out in that first contract and now he's cost himself how much money because he fell all the way to 5? I know he's still making a lot, but you get my point. Like, I just want to put this situation in perspective to other situations that I have seen. And that player, by the way, and we'll get to Adam in just 2 seconds. The stuff that I'm talking about, that player that had to sign a contract, and I watched his parents come and pick up his scholarship money and tell him to eat everybody else's food and drink everybody else's drinks. He saw that as normal as day. That player also was told growing up that his dad was on the set of Space Jam playing pickup games with Michael Jordan and was escorted out by security because he was beating Michael Jordan so bad. That player was also told by his parents that his dad was an NBA player, but there's no record of it in the NBA because he was blackballed. And I'm telling you, the player would have died on a hill for any of those things. He did die on those hills when we would challenge them. I was smack in the middle of a situation, and it smells just like what's going on with Ace Bailey. So I'm glad that it is getting figured out. What's up, Guru? I'm going an A plus on this draft. A plus. You got a 5-year guy that could step on the court immediately in some type of rotation role, not big starter role. You need guys. The Kings need a lot of players, and they don't have a lot of money to do it. So A plus for me. And then I do like the 42nd pick. Why not? Why not with that? They're going to get their point guard in free agency. It looks like you might get your point guard via DeRozan trade. And that's the other thing too. With a DeRozan trade, you're looking at a Devin Carter salary. You're looking at a Keon Ellis salary. You're looking at an Isaac Jones salary. You're looking at sometimes those things to tag onto it to make it work. So that's why you've got to look and see what Scott Perry, I think, is going to be watching Summer League with a very, very close eye. Free agency starts June 30th. The bird rights, we can next week we'll go over who has bird rights with who. But yes, there you go. All right, we are through the basketball part of the show. If you are not sticking around for the wrestling, all good. I appreciate you being here this week. If you've never stuck around for the wrestling, give it a little bit of try. We have some good conversations with our wrestling correspondent, Adam Uso, who really is officially an Uso. And yes, that's why I'm wearing a wrestling shirt. What's up, Us?
I'm all gas, no brakes with it.
Dude, he's the real deal.
He is he's the man.
Deal.
And he's a hometown product.
Yep.
How can you hate a Jacob Fatu?
Hey, he reps Sacramento, California.
4 letters, 1 word.
I feel like the was like I know
it's 10 letters, right?
Okay. I know Horse is gonna go pull the video of me doing that, but I feel like that was like a test to see how over Jey Uso still was. It was like, okay, we need to add something to the Yeet and see if it gets traction, and I think it did. So
I think it did, but I also think the traction is slipping a little bit with
I would agree.
Mr. Uso.
I would agree.
Although I think he had a great match with Cody last week.
I'm with you. 100%. So get your wrestling questions in. We've got Night of Champions this weekend. SmackDown has already happened.
I know.
And so I don't want to do any spoilers. I don't think that is fair.
Don't spoil it for me because I didn't get to watch it yet.
Okay, I'm not going to do it. Spoilers.
So we're not even going to talk about SmackDown.
We're not going to talk about SmackDown. Yeah,
I'm not putting my eyes on it yet.
But there was a lot of talk. Why don't you kind of fill people in on this? This show was in question. These 3 shows were in question in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with everything going on in the Middle East right now, and by all accounts, it sounds like Dom's injury was legit. He was supposed to face AJ Styles tomorrow night, but it appears that he's injured. I'm not here to be the judge, jury, and executioner on Dom, but whether it's a valid injury or whether it's not, that doesn't matter to us. If someone doesn't feel safe going there, I wouldn't blame them. And if people do feel safe going there and the show does go on, great, cool, let's do it. And let's hope for the best. But, if anyone's like having indiscretions about traveling overseas, kind of in the thick of it.
It is in the thick of it. Yeah. Yeah.
It very much is. And I would not fault them for that. And if WWE canceled the whole thing, go for it. I'm okay.
Yeah,
relocate it to Dallas so I can go.
There you go. I was going to bring this up too. I thought this, okay, let's separate this into two parts. The first part is CM Punk being critical years ago of a wrestler, I forget exactly who it was, for going over and wrestling in Saudi Arabia. He is now in there, and he's in Saudi Arabia, CM Punk, and going to be wrestling Cena tomorrow night in the main event. So there's this, he's a hypocrite, yada, yada, yada. Where do you stand on that?
Who isn't a hypocrite? Which one of us watching this, talking about it, judging Punk, who isn't a hypocrite? People can change.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm completely with you. Especially if you're a fan of the wrestling business, how many times do people leave the company and trash the company, right? And I'm not going to work there again. Vince McMahon's blah blah blah. Next thing you know, 5 years later, they're back. It is part of the business. So because of that, I'm not going to call him a hypocrite. And I'm with you. Like, okay, opinions change, times change. My opinion. What about my opinion on Scott Perry? It's changed. Go back and watch shows when he did his press conferences. I'm killing him. And now I'm like, all right. It's not all gas, no brakes. I got to put the brakes on.
I think where the criticism comes is that CM Punk as a character on the show and him as a person, maybe that goes against his values as a character, as a person, but maybe it doesn't anymore. And that's okay. Like, you gotta be okay with people being able to flex a little bit and change their mind. Like, at one point, I liked pickles when I was a kid. And then there was a part of my life where I didn't like pickles. But now I like pickles again.
Dude,
so don't judge me on that.
I am going to judge you if you ever bought like those big dill pickles from the gas station.
Oh, no, like the hot mamas?
No, like the legitimately way too big pickles that they'd have like in a plastic bag.
Yeah, the pickle in the bag. Okay,
yeah.
That's where I'm judging you. I'm a spicy bread and butter pickle guy myself.
You got to go dill. See, I'm a dill guy.
Bro, I'm telling you, move to the South, come out here, come have some spicy bread and butter with your brisket, and it will change your life.
Okay, I would be open to that. Kevin has
Next
been
time.
asking. Kevin's been asking.
Acknowledge me. Acknowledge me.
So we acknowledge you, Kevin. All right.
We always acknowledge Kevin.
Tristan, Cena versus Punk at Night of Champions. Should Punk win and turn heel, as Vince Russo suggests, or let Cena ride off as a fave champ?
I want you to answer this first. I mean, he did address it to me, but
no, CM Punk should not beat Cena. You got to go back to Cody and Cena at some point. That's your biggest match with your biggest show outside of WrestleMania. The only other show that goes 2 nights, SummerSlam. And
first time.
Book that there. What about you, Adam?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Punk loses, Cena wins, and then we look forward to probably Cody versus Cena.
And we can pick that apart later. There were, if you listen to or read Dave Meltzer, he spoke to somebody. Dude, we should get Meltzer on the show.
It's easy.
Yeah, I've reached out to him a couple of times.
Really?
I've talked with Brian Alvarez before. We should get Meltzer on the show. We'll try to do that. Even Alvarez. Alvarez is more opinionated. But I guess there's some in WWE that say the only thing that could ruin WWE right now is turning Cody heel, yet The Rock is still pushing for that turn to come. Maybe at SummerSlam.
Oh my God, my computer just went to shutdown mode. Hold on. What the hell was that?
You're still on.
Yeah, great. Cody turns heel. I mean, I think you're in that camp. We talked about this last week.
Mm-hmm.
The only prospect, I'm with you, prospect. Like, I don't know that you turn Cody heel just yet, but also I don't know how you turn Cena face while he's losing the belt. And not that I am 100% confident that Cody beats Cena for the belt at SummerSlam, but maybe that's the best opportunity. But I still, I would prefer to see Cody stay a face for a little while beyond this. I think what we saw last week with Pipe Bomb 2.0, reverse Pipe Bomb, whatever you want to call it, towards the end there, I mean, people have been cheering for John Cena throughout this whole past 6 months, through his heel turn. There's still a split crowd. I think the crowd is playing into him being a heel, just as we as the crowd play into being the crowd. But I think you saw a shift in the crowd's emotion on how they view Cena after that Punk Pipe Bomb promo that he ran last week. I think that was a defining twist into him coming back to a baby face last week. And so I think we're starting to put the wheels in motion. And from what I've heard, Cena was at that Fanatics Fest last week, I believe. And he made a comment that John Cena is going to go whichever direction the crowd sort of takes it. So if it feels like the crowd wants him to turn back face, he might. And if they don't want him to, then he might not. I think deep down, everyone wants him to turn back face as a majority. And so I would probably lean towards that.
You know what's interesting about that? What's interesting is, like, think about Orton's path. Like, Orton is a natural heel. He's always been a natural heel. He's an awkward face.
Well, and I think that's because of his mic skills, right? Like, he's not awful, but
I think he's good on the mic.
He's good.
Yeah.
No, but he can be a little clunky and awkward, I think, too.
Well, anytime the toe touch thing that he did years back, that was silly. Anyways, I think what Cena could be going for here, and I think it actually could work very well, is the route where you're being such a good heel that the crowd's cheering you, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of comes out as, it's John Cena genuinely at the end having fun. There certainly seems to be a list of things that he wants to do before this whole thing's over. The reverse pipe bomb, cool. My biggest concern, and I've stated this so many times before, my biggest concern is the matches. I'm tired of seeing the overbooking, the 90 run-ins, the ignorance of the rules. Like, I can deal with one run-in, but like the Orton match, over the top. The Saturday Night Main Event thing, over the top. I just don't need it.
And then you had another match with R-Truth this past week and ends in another DQ or whatever, right? And was that planned? No, that was kind of magic in the moment that we got as a fan base. We asked for that and we got it. Mm-hmm. And then, I think the pipe bomb stuff was probably premeditated before that. And they mix in an R-Truth match to really solidify him as a heel. I'm sorry, what was your question again?
It wasn't a question, it was just a statement.
Yeah.
I just don't like the overbooking. So okay, let's tie up this Cody heel stuff really quick, and then we'll get to Icebox's question. I agree that Cody. I think that would be a good plan for a second run, and I think that's what Rock is trying to push here. That this be the second run where that heel turn starts. Makes no sense while Cena is, to me, okay, fair enough. And then why turn Rhodes heel to freshen up the product? But this really does make sense. You can't have, you would have to turn Cena back face. But what you need to do is get those two guys away from each other. This entire thing is built around John Cena wrestling whoever he wants to wrestle on the way out the door. He doesn't want to spend 8 dates in a feud with the same person.
100%. And if you turn Cody heel, what faces do you have left in the company? You have Jey Uso. You would have John Cena. But outside of that, who do you have? You have Seth Rollins with the Money in the Bank case. You've got Gunther.
He's not a face.
No, the Money in the Bank case.
Right.
He is a heel. You've got Gunther, who's a heel, which I could see. I feel like they want to turn Gunther face, but they just can't do it. But all that being said, like, who are your faces in the company? And I've got one for you that I think could take down a heel Cody Rhodes.
Okay. LA Knight.
Yes. Yeah. I screwed that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So Rhodes over Orton, then Rhodes heel turn will start. No, this is actually what I think will happen. I think it's going to be Rhodes over Orton, 100%. We've already hit that. I think what you're going to have happen is you're going to have Orton affect or play a role or screw Cody against Cena. Because then that sends you off into the fall with an Orton-Cena feud that can take you through WrestleMania, which I personally want to see. I 100% want to see that. And having a title in it doesn't make a difference to me. I just want to see the whole legacy, the friendship, because those guys are really good friends. And Randy's never worked with Cody since Cody's come back. I mean, they've been around each other, but they've never faced each other. So I think that's what makes sense. You keep Cena rolling through SummerSlam. Adam, you?
Okay, here's a crazy scenario. We'll stick with your Cena turns face, Cody turns heel. Then we have Seth Rollins, also heel, cash in on Cody Rhodes heel. Could you set up an LA Knight versus Seth Rollins for the championship beyond that and finally give this guy a push? Meanwhile, you have a face Randy Orton and a heel Cody Rhodes. Maybe they're both heels. I don't know what they are, but you could have those two go after each other to battle a winner of a Seth Rollins LA Knight thing.
Here's what I think is going to happen. I think LA Knight is going to start working his way through that Rollins faction, whatever you want to call it. I think they're going to add people to the faction still. There's been some names floated around, one of which I like, one of which I don't.
Do.
Which one do you think I like?
I don't think you like Ethan Page.
Oh, I love Ethan Page.
For that.
Yeah.
I was going to say Ricky Saints is who you love in that role.
I like Ricky. Ricky Saints needs some more WWE seasoning. Ricky Saints does not work. The name Ricky Saints does not work. The theme music does not work. They got to do better. No, I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with that. Okay, I want Ricky Starks from AEW. I want Ricky Starks. I want that music. Like I want that whole. If you had that with what he's doing now, perfectly fine. But I'd probably the name is a problem, right? Like they probably own Ricky.
Yeah, they do.
Starks.
So I don't think there's any going back from the name. I think that's kind of what it is, if I'm being honest.
Well, they changed. Okay, so they're trying to make it so any of the theme songs that these wrestlers, especially if you're NXT, if you come into NXT with your own theme, they're trying to get away from that. They want to own all the music rights. And so that's why they went away from the Jordan Grace theme, because they said the siren was too similar to Braun Breaker.
Scott Steiner.
So yeah, anyways, I think back to LA Knight, there's a lot of chatter. Oh, you got nice.
Derek's calling out Joe Hendry.
We'll talk about Joe in a minute. There's a lot of chatter that Netflix wants LA Knight on Raw. And I think you're starting to see the seeds planted with him dealing with this Rollins thing.
Yep.
I think what we're going to see is him going through those guys individually over a period of time, while at the same time Rollins is going to cash in at some point and be the champion. And I think you're going to work your way up. I said this last week. You're going to work your way up to an LA Knight Royal Rumble win. And that's going to be your title match, Rollins LA Knight.
So can you, like, we're talking today.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think LA Knight could beat Gunther or John Cena?
Well, I mean, what do you mean?
I
guess the better question is, could they have a real enough, good enough match?
Right.
I think he could have a better match with John Cena than he would Gunther. I think it would be a better match.
I'm with you there. If Seth Rollins were to hold a belt, do you think that is more realistically attainable for LA Knight to beat a Seth Rollins more than a Gunther or John Cena?
Yes.
I'd agree with that. And so I think if you find a way for Seth to get a belt, I think you can find a way for LA Knight to be in competition for it. I don't know if
the world title's on Raw. It's going to stay on Raw.
I know, but is Seth Rollins going to stay on Raw? I don't know. Is LA Knight going to stay on SmackDown?
Yeah, I think yes.
They're a Raw faction. I'm with you.
They're definitely a Raw faction. Everybody asking about
Say his name and he appears.
You know, Joe, I don't know if you guys were here for this a couple of weeks ago. It was the PGA Championship weekend. I was watching the trophy presentation, and I'm like, they just staged. They had all the PGA Tour professionals on the green behind them, and they did this giant turnaround, just like Joe Hendry. Like, and they were dressed in the Hendry colors. And so, like, I tweeted at Joe, I'm like, what's going on? It's something. And he was like, and they're wearing the colors too. He retweeted it. So I like Joe Hendry. He's a cool dude.
How do you not like Joe Hendry? How do you not like LA Knight?
Okay, so there's an argument to not liking Joe Hendry. You could say Joe Hendry is limited. He's a mid-card act. Like, that's not a main event act. It's the same wave your hands from side to side.
And that's why I mentioned LA Knight's name in the same sentence, because I think these two both have the same sort of syndrome.
Ah, it's a great point, Adam.
Like, super over. Everyone loves him. But we're not ready to, Denny Green and crown their ass.
They are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
But they should be crowned. There's a lot of back and forth about Jey Uso's title reign at 51 days. Is it too short? should have even gotten the title. What was the stat? Jey Uso's title reign was longer than 9 of John Cena's title reigns. The Rock has 10 title reigns.
You can't compare eras like that.
I know.
Now,
But we
if you want to
can a
crown
little
them,
bit.
you crown their ass.
No, you can't.
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
I'm not comparing eras. I think I'm trying to bring perspective. We grew up in an era where The Rock had 9 title reigns in 48 months. We are currently watching an era where Roman Reigns held the belt for 1,316 days. Gunther held the belt for 500 days as Intercontinental Champion. He held the World Heavyweight Championship for a year. We're seeing these elongated title runs, mainly in the men's division. Maybe Rhea Ripley's an exception there. But we've been groomed to expect these long title reigns when that wasn't necessarily the standard, and we did love it. Thank you, Prospect. And we loved it. And I think we've gotten so used to, no, Cody needs to hold the belt for longer than a year. But yes, it was must-see TV. You had your eyes glued on Raw and SmackDown because anything was possible. There could be a title change. Not saying that was the norm. It wasn't. I think it's still an outlier when you see belts change on a Monday Night Raw and in a SmackDown or a Sunday Night Heat.
What do you guys want to talk about?
So here's what I want to talk about. Triple H likes the longer, and you could argue, well, you haven't built enough stars, right? So you have to have the longer title runs, and that's how you build stars. One, they were in a ratings war during that time. So you were trying to, they were losing to CW for a while. But here's the other thing. You had a handful of literal bona fide megastars. Bona fide megastars at their primes at the same time, or in their primes at the same time. So you almost had to capitalize on that with the quick title changes. Like, did you hear when they did R-Truth's entrance? What was it? Was it R-Truth's entrance? They were talking about somebody like they had just retired or something happened. They were like, yeah, he was the 20. Oh, it was Rey Mysterio. No, was it Rey Mysterio? No, anyways, they were like, yeah, and he was the 24/7 champion 153 times.
It was R-Truth. Yeah.
And it's like 153 times.
I think that's the nature of the hardcore championship, whatever. But to your point, like these, I don't hate the elongated title runs when it makes sense. I'm cool with it. But to your point, the Monday Night Wars, we might be in that.
Not even close.
I know it's. I'm not going to say it's.
AEW is booking 3,000 seat arenas, dude.
They're booking 60,000 seat arenas.
One time. Woo! And you think it's going to fill?
No.
They're going to paper it. They're going to paper it. They're going to be handing out
paper stuff too, but not to the extent. Point taken. Point taken.
They could be at some point, but go ahead.
And that's exactly it, right? They could be at some point. And I think where WWE is at now, they better be very careful with the prices that they're charging for the experience that they're giving. And I'm not saying anything about the experience. I think the experience is great. But we've talked about this. Are you outpricing your market? And then you look at a product like AEW. Are they perfect? Maybe not. But do they have some compelling things that would draw people to come to a show? And I would say yes. I think AEW had their chance to take over. I think they still have a chance.
See, you know what? You know what? Prospect. Okay. I think AEW's chance to take over, because this was before Ospreay was in full time. When they came off of their first, what's the big one? Is it All In, right?
Yeah.
Okay. When they came off their first All In and sold out Wembley Stadium, a stadium that I think WWE had they had a SummerSlam there one time. That was a show. That was a great show. It came off like a WrestleMania. But what overshadowed it? What overshadowed that show? Right there. It was CM Punk's fight before the first match that turned into this entire, like, oh, he tried to kill Tony Khan and then nobody knew about it. And then what did AEW should have just let it go? What did they do like 8 months later after everybody had moved on? They show the footage of it. They shot themselves in the freaking foot, man. Like,
yeah.
Tony Khan showing up at the NFL draft in a neck brace maybe 25 years ago. You can't do that today. I still want that neck brace. I really want that neck brace. I agree. That was the peak too.
I don't know. I think AEW could financially sustain a long war. And I think that if WWE slips, and I think they slipped a little bit during WrestleMania, they're going to send eyes over to AEW. Does that mean that people are going to commit to that product? I don't know.
I think.
But if they look at it.
Okay, let's flip this on its head. There's rumblings that TKO might put WWE up for sale.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad. I know you're financing my wrestling business that you don't even realize what wrestling is. And you've let me use your stadium a few times. And I drink really expensive bubbly water that's always in any shot that I'm in. And I don't do my hair when I get out of bed. But Dad, can you sell the Jaguars so we can buy WWE? Let's do it. Imagine that. TKO. Nobody has any control over that. Paul Levesque, anybody. It's TKO. You got The Rock on the board too.
Yeah, and Vince McMahon is still a stakeholder in TKO.
I thought he was completely out. I thought he just got out all the way.
When?
Like
Last
really
week?
recent.
Oh,
really
maybe.
Recent.
I don't know. I haven't looked into that, but everything I've heard is that Vince is probably the front runner to fight that.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think that's true.
You know what? Just
burn it down!
If that happens, just burn it freaking down. Oh my gosh. He needs to go away. I lost. Anyways, I don't want to talk about it.
Go away?
Yes, he needs to go away.
what is he, 80? You want him to go away?
No, dude's gonna go away, possibly to federal prison. Anyways.
Oh, well, I was talking
Uh,
about another plane.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not. I know when I say go away, I'm not talking about people dying.
Yeah, you're just wishing death on Vince McMahon. It's fine.
I am not
I'm
wishing
kidding.
death on Vince McMahon. I mean, what would it sound like? Would it be like, he did try to kill himself as a character. Anyways,
He tried to do a lot of things, like impregnate his daughter.
you guys got me thinking about freaking Vince McMahon. AEW should have capitalized on that story, the Elite versus Punk. Would it have been better if Cody was there? No, I think Cody was starting to get burned out. Playing the management role. I think it was a little bit too much.
Cody's got chops. He's got legacy. But can Cody drive an entire organization in the creative directive by himself? Maybe. But I think 7 years ago, probably not, right?
Here's the thing. You can't let the inmates run the asylum. You can't do it. And to a degree, that's what happened when Tony Khan came in. None of them respected Tony Khan. They just needed his bankroll, right? Do you follow Maven on social media?
Maven?
Maven, or no, on YouTube. Do you follow Maven on YouTube?
I don't. Are we?
Yes,
Are we talking about the same Maven?
Maven who won Tough Enough. Yes. Okay. So check this out. Maven put on a suit. He was able to drive into the arena, the talent parking lot, get past security, documented it all on YouTube. No credentials, no nothing, and then was just being greeted by everybody and got an interview really quick with Tony Khan. Like, it's just kind of a Mickey Mouse kind of thing. And when you have guys that are going to be looking out for themselves and their money isn't on the line, and it's like a playground, and it's like, hey, Tony, go bring this person in for like $20 million. It becomes, it's like, what's the saying go? Don't eat where you crap or whatever, don't date somebody you work with. You just can't do it that way. You've got to have somebody that's the shot caller that everybody respects.
Feels like a Steinbrenner sort of situation. When his son took over the Yankees. I don't know.
Okay, so predictions for, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, let's do it.
Predictions for
Night of Champions, not King of the Ring. Night of Champions.
Yeah.
All right, let's go with first match. Sami Zayn versus freaking finally Karrion Kross gets a match on television, but not just on television, at a PLE.
By the way, Karrion Kross's biggest mistake ever was shaving his head. He should have never shaved his head. That ruined his gimmick of being like the scary kind of weird dude. But now he's back to normal.
Long hair in wrestling goes a long way.
Well, Stevie Richards talks about it all the time because it sells better, right? You can snap your head back more. The water comes flying off of your hair.
Hide.
All right. Hide what? What do you hide in your hair?
You can mask a hit. You can mask if you're talking to the ref or another wrestler about what the next thing is. I think the long hair provides a lot.
Okay, fair enough. I think Karrion Kross.
Thank you, Icebox, for the stats.
By the way, Icebox, I do have a question. Is your handle based off of Becky, the Icebox? If so, I will respect
From Little Giants?
I will respect it 20 times more. Okay,
You want
so
intimidation? I'll show you intimidation.
yeah, such a good movie. It would have been on our March Madness brackets. All right, so we'll have to do that next marks. I'm gonna say Karrion Kross. They're gonna keep beating Sammy down. How about you? Especially because he's super over. Oh, you know what? You know what? I take that back. This is nothing more than a glorified house show. This is how WWE has always treated the Saudi Arabia event. So Sami Zayn. Yep.
Yeah, I got to go with Sammy. I think Sammy's, you talked about who did you have winning Royal Rumble next year? LA Knight. I think Sammy's going to win Royal Rumble next year.
Okay.
So I'll go Sammy.
Okay.
We've got a street fight between Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez.
Is it really a street fight? Isn't it more like a dirt fight? Like the roads? Anyway, never mind.
Not going there.
It's the desert. It's gonna be.
I'm not going there right now because of what's going on over there.
It's Rhea for sure.
You know what? I'll take Raquel. I'm a Raquel fan. I like her. She's botchy. She might not have the best mic skills, but give me Raquel, and I think you can sort of parlay that into the Judgment Day and Roxanne. I don't know how you tie that in, but
Sand fight. Yeah,
I'm out. I can't do sand fight. I'm out.
Dude, I had never been more happy in my life when you started to talk about Raquel and you said her mic skills. I thought you were going to say something else. So thank you for that.
What?
No, I'm not even going there with you because you
go there.
You have not jaw and face. Stupid. I should have just let that go.
Text me.
All right, next match. I'll text you. Yes, go ahead. Next match.
Oh, I'm going to say the United States Championship. Let's go Jade Cargill versus Asuka.
For the Queen of the Ring?
Yeah.
Jade.
I'm with Jade. I think
you have to. It plays into the Money in the Bank stuff with Naomi.
I can totally see an Io Sky versus Asuka match being really cool. But I think maybe you play that outside of the title picture and I think there's more meat on the bone if you have Jade Cargill with a looming Naomi Money in the Bank cash in.
Yep.
And a Bianca Belair that's sitting in the wings.
Yep. Cena Orton, Cody. I think I already said I'm going Cody.
There's more than one royal family in wrestling. Whoa!
Listen to you.
Microphones in your audio speakers, but give me freaking Cody Rhodes, baby.
All
we
right.
need Cody back.
All right. Cody
He's not turning heel.
Dude.
Sorry, I'm yelling so much.
You're right.
Chicken and dumplings today.
I don't know why that played. You're getting excited. All right. I'm going to say Cena and Punk. Cena, 100%. Please don't overbook
Wait, you didn't
it.
give me your Orton.
Yeah,
Cody.
I did. Cody.
Oh,
Cody.
I'm sorry. I missed that. I didn't hear it.
Yep.
Okay, so you're going to take Cena. I'm also going to take Cena in that one. And then I think this is the most intriguing matchup of the night, the United States Championship match. Jacob Fatu versus my boy, I Love You Solo.
It's always better because we're coming up to a bigger show. You don't know when Roman's going to return. It could be fairly soon. It's not going to be this weekend of shows. I think somehow Jacob gets screwed out of the title, and I don't like it. I'm not okay with it, but I understand why you want to have him chasing it going into SummerSlam.
Yeah, so I think you got two things working on one thing working on each side, right? Like you've got JC on Solo side, you've got possibly a Jimmy Uso on I'm sorry, I messed that up. You have Jimmy on Jacob's side, possibly, and then you have JC on Solo's side. In my heart of hearts, I think you got to give Solo a belt.
Solo is
I love Jacob. Sorry, you go.
Solo is the poop.
There's
in
a
my
bucket of
WWE.
poop and there's a bucket of ice cream. You can put all the ice cream in that poop that you want. It doesn't change it. But one little pinch of that poop in that ice cream ruins that ice cream. And I'll tell a guy, you, my man, are the poop in our ice cream.
Solo, you, the man, are the poop in my wrestling ice cream.
He is not the poop in my ice cream. He's the whipped cream and the cherry on top, especially what he's been doing the last few months when he's like, L.A. nut, like doing stuff like that. Like, that's the Solo we want to see. That's the bad guy. He's finally got a personality. Give him a belt. Let him run with it. We already know that everyone loves Jacob Fatu. It's the same situation with LA Knight, but in parallel universes, right? You need to do something for Solo because he's done more in his tenure than I think Jacob has. He was the enforcer. He was the no mic guy for so long. And then he forms his own bloodline. And I think we kind of strayed away from what that looked like due to injuries to Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. But you have this feud between these two cousins in the bloodline. And I think there's such a story there that we can tell with the upcoming Tongans or bloodline members, whatever you want to call them. And I think there's, do we have the ability moving forward for people who, like a Jey Uso, a Jimmy Uso, obviously, but looking down the line, can we build out these two bloodlines between Solo and Jacob with JC and maybe a Jimmy or a Jay? And how do you build these two bloodlines up? Because they've got people coming up in the ranks that are going to appear in WWE. And then you start to bring back a Roman. Maybe it starts off with these two bloodlines with a Tama, Tonga, and a Tongaloa split between the two factions.
How about
and
no
then you
more?
incorporate.
How about no more bloodlines?
How about no more bloodline? Each one of them's got like 5 kids. So if you think about long-term storytelling, this is never going to end.
So
The
we're gonna
bloodline
have
will never end.
Great. So we're gonna have 30 years storytelling now.
100% you will.
So like I in my trust, I'm going to leave my son all of Bloodline A's gear because it's gonna be worth more 30 years later. Like
if you don't pick up a Solo glove today, that's going to be worth $30,000 in the future.
Chance. Stop it.
But
Solo
it gives you the possibility for a limited person like Roman, like a limited person like The Rock, to pick a side. You split The Rock and Roman between these two bloodlines, then you totally revive the story. And I think that's where they should go. But that's my opinion.
You said they pick a side.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of bloodlined out.
Pick a side.
I need a
not.
break. I need a break. All right,
Why?
we got to roll because I gotta do some things. I gotta charge my car before charging rates go up too high.
Charge your car, get a normal diesel, and go to a gas station, brother. You need an F-250.
Brother, don't get me into it, man. I am all in. I am all in, and I came from a car that you had to put the premium in. So,
well, we don't pay $7 a gallon out here, so
Icebox does say it. Sadly, it kind of works. Yeah, I know.
I'm saying.
And dude, it was a brilliant idea. It's just I'm so uninterested in it. I'm just.
And maybe you are, but I am. I like the Jacob Solo feud. I like both of them. I like Solo now. I like what he's doing.
Okay, but here's the Okay, we got to go. This is the longest show ever. We'll carry this to next week. You need your Jacobs to break off and be stars. Jacob's a freaking star.
He is, and he's going to be the leader of the true bloodline.
Oh my gosh. Pigeonholing Jacob.
He is our next tribal chief.
All right. You know what? Oh, now we're going to start car wars.
Hey, I'm in the market for a new vehicle, and I'm seriously considering the Kia Carnival.
The Kia Carnival?
Yes, it's a minivan.
You're not being serious, are you?
I'm being dead serious. Pull it up.
The Kia. Well, first off, if I pull it up on my computer, now I'm going to get millions of car.
Hey, maybe we could get a sponsorship from Kia on the podcast.
The Kia Carnival.
It looks like a minivan, but it also doesn't.
Can I ask why you want to be part of Minivan Nation first?
Have you ever driven one?
Have I ever?
Okay, that's the worst color you could pick. I think there's other color options. Okay, now look at that. Kind of looks like an Expedition, but with a sliding back door.
Okay, look, you are inching closer and closer. And what's the gas mileage? That ain't diesel.
Who cares? I drive an F-150.
Okay, you are inching closer and closer to my territory then. You're looking at efficiency.
No, I'm not. I'm looking at, it is efficient. It is efficient.
That's where it starts. That's where it always starts. The wife gets a Prius. That's how it starts. I'm telling you, brother.
No electric.
All right, we'll keep this.
Minivans are so dope. They're so dope. You got all the space. You can put the seats in the floor. You can have activities.
Brother.
You can play your drums in the back of a minivan.
Brother, I grew up with a conversion van. I get it.
Which one?
What do you mean? Which one?
Conversion van. Which van?
You don't remember what the conversion vans were?
Well, give me a name.
I think it was a Chevy, but it's one of those vans that has you've got this funky, it's almost like it's wearing a little bit of a helmet on top.
Oh my God. My dream vehicle is a GMC Safari.
A GMC Safari. I know what you're talking about. Okay. So the conversion vans, those are the ones that have the last row turns into a bed. It's a couch that turns into a bed. It's got multiple TVs. You can play video games. It has pilot seats. I grew up with
doing?
And I just yeah.
How
We
you
are
doing?
on top. What
If
happened?
that van's a rockin', don't come a knocking.
Stop it. You're out. Say bye to the people before you get something out
people.
of your mouth that gets me canceled. Later. Uso, great job. We went way too long, way too long. Thank you guys for sticking around on a Friday, and gals. Sometimes the wrestling segment is short. Sometimes the wrestling segment runs long. Nonetheless, we have plenty to get into here in the next couple weeks as we begin to look at what the Kings are going to do in Summer League. I do not know yet whether I will be in Vegas. There is a possibility I might be in Vegas for some of the Summer League that starts July 10th. And before that, look, this is how it lays out. We have so much. I don't know why that light got so much brighter. We'll go lighter like that. We have so much to still get into with the Kings. Free agency, the bird rights, and early negotiating begins the 30th, which means Monday. We will start going through all that information. Who has bird rights? What kind of bird rights? We'll know more about what the Kings Summer League roster is going to look like. We'll probably have a press conference from Scott Perry introducing, and Doug Christie, the newest Kings, and we'll be off and running. It'll be Summer League. Then we're going to have NFL camps open. We'll have a dead month in the NBA, which will be August, and September we'll be opening up training camp for the Kings. So although it looks like the dog days of summer, we've got plenty of content to get us through. Hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Whatever you do, be safe. Enjoy the wrestling content. Sports-wise, a little dry this weekend. That's all right. But you'll have some, I think that you got golf going, the Rocket Mortgage, NASCAR. Find something you like. Maybe cornhole will be on. Anyways, stay cool. By the way, don't be stupid and get out in the heat and think you're a hero and go golfing. It's like 102 degrees, or at least be prepared for it. Look at now I'm parenting. All right, love y'all. Thanks for being here. Great week again here in the Kings Court. Thanks to Jerry earlier this week for joining us on Tuesdays, as he always does. Thank you if you've joined us for our specials, draft days, and whatnot. Pay attention to the X account. If anything happens with the Kings, we will update you on both of those, Grant and my own, and make sure you download the Kings Court podcast if you want to take us on the go. Thanks for letting me in to your ears, homes, houses, whatever it may be, offices, to talk sports and Kings basketball with you. Always a pleasure. Have a great weekend, folks. Go Kings. Court is dismissed.
Order in the court.